Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and we are back again with our new series. I guess it's not so new now. What have we been watching in this last week? You and I have both watched a ton of movies.
Oh, yeah, we've watched, so much stuff. I mean, if you've been keeping up with the vlogs on the channel, Dylan has been at the Virginia Film Festival, VAFF, watching 13 movies, was it, by the end?
13 movies this past week in 5 days. And you know, when you hear 13, that sounds like a lot, but Wednesday was 1, Thursday was 2, Friday it was 2, and then it was a 4, and then a 3, getting up to 13. I hope the math was it right. But I saw 13 movies in total. I had a blast. At the time of recording this, we do not know who our People's Choice or Audience Award winner is.
What's your prediction?
In the vlogs, I'm like, it's going to be American Fiction. But the reaction to Origin, it was the U.S. premiere of the movie. Ava DuVernay was there in person, and I feel like that may sway voters a little bit. American Symphony, John Baptiste was there, and he performed afterwards, and people didn't vote until after he performed. And I feel like that could also affect, but I'm going to stay true, and I'm going to say American Fiction wins the Audience Award. If you missed any of those vlogs, definitely go check them out. The thumbnails include every movie I talk about, so you can see the main movies in the center area, and on the corner over here, you can see all the other movies that will be discussed inside the vlog.
So what was your biggest surprise that you don't feel like you got to talk enough about?
It was kind of on purpose for not talking about it enough, but it would be Sleep, the Korean horror film out of the Cannes Film Festival. Nice. I went in blind. I knew nothing, and I think that was for the best, and I would urge everyone out there, as I said in the vlogs, just hear that I loved it, and if that's something that sounds interesting to you, a Korean horror movie, go check it out. Go in blind, don't know anything else about it, and just let it blow you away. It's 90 minutes too, so it's a quick
It's
watch.
very short. On the other hand, I will say I personally wasn't a huge fan of Sleep, but I did recommend that you go see it. I think it was very high up on my list of recommendations. When you sent me the festival lineup, you were like, what should I see here? I put Sleep very high, even though I personally gave it a 5 out of 10. On a personal level, I'm not a big horror guy, so maybe this just didn't hit for me because of that. But I was really glad that you enjoyed it as much as you did.
Other movies that I think were a big highlight that maybe I didn't talk as much about, because a lot of my talk went to the premiere films at the end of each night, like American Fiction, Origin, American Symphony, but I very much did like May December. It definitely is not the campy film that was kind of sold to me by people who had seen it. There's campy elements, but that's not what the movie is as a whole. But I dug our lead trio of performances. I also found Rustin to be more enjoyable than I originally thought it would be. Is it a great movie? No, it's a weak 7, but I was expecting a 5 out of 10, and I was like, okay, this is fine. I wish it did more, but it was whatever. And Domingo is great in it as well. I've now officially seen the top 6 in Best Actor, and I don't know who to have on the outside looking in.
And you saw Perfect Days too. What did you think of that one?
I did. I love Perfect Days. It's going to be maybe my favorite of the international submissions. I still have to see a lot of them, but of the ones I haven't seen yet, I'm not sure what could really eclipse this. I love the way this movie's crafted, the way it's directed, the pacing, the acting. Even though he's not saying a lot, he's showing a lot. Just get on the film's wavelength and just have a ball.
So I haven't seen this one. I didn't get into it at TIFF, unfortunately, but I was actually a little bit surprised that you liked it as much as you did, because I'd heard that this was a bit of a meandering film. It was a little bit of there's no story, there's no real point to it. It's kind of just life presented. Is that true, or is there more of a plot to it than I think?
I think there's a plot in there, but the intro is what you described. But over the course of the 2-hour film, a plot does arise, and I think reach a very thought-provoking and interesting conclusion of it. If people are interested in more of my film festival thoughts, at the very end of the day 5 vlog, I do my personal awards for the fest. So I go over all 13 movies that I've seen, and I give out 7 awards. These include picture, director, screenplay, leading performance, supporting performance, ensemble, scene of the festival, and best animated international documentary feature, because I watched a lot of them there. And I like to be different, so I did like Venice, where a movie can only win one. So my spoiler is American Fiction won picture, but that means it couldn't win screenplay.
Anyways, over to my side now that we're done with the Virginia Film Festival. Till next year, I get to see The Killer by David Fincher.
Ooh.
Have you seen this one yet, Dylan?
I haven't. I have a theater near me that normally plays a lot of the Netflix releases. It's how I saw Make in a theater during the COVID year. It's how I saw Don't Look Up in a theater. And they even play a lot of other streamers. I saw Coda there. I saw Sound of Metal there. But they didn't play The Killer. So I'm going to have to be like a peasant doesn't watch The Killer on Netflix when it comes out in like 2 weeks.
That's too bad. Well, we'll come back to The Killer when it comes out. But I'll just say I really liked it. It felt a little bit like a minor David Fincher movie in the same kind of vein as Panic Room. This is not Gone Girl. This is not The Social Network. This is not Fight Club or Seven. It's a good movie. I liked it a lot. It's kind of the anti-John Wick is what I would describe it as. It's a story about a worldwide manhunt for an assassin, but not really in that way. You know, it's very quiet. It's about a guy just kind of closing the loose ends. It's very violent, very dark. What I really liked about this movie is how it almost feels like a commentary on David Fincher himself, because the main character is a perfectionist and he's constantly talking about how important it is to be perfect, but we see that he truly is never perfect. And it's like David Fincher is saying that's kind of the state of mind that he's constantly in. He's trying to be perfect. He's talking about how there's only 2 ways you can shoot a scene and the other way is wrong. He is truly not perfect, no matter how hard he tries, and he'll always fuck up. It also felt different from any Fincher movie that I've seen ever before. It was very handheld. You know, I always think of him as very stationary, very static, maybe like a tripod swivel or something, but nothing else. It's the least perfect David Fincher movie that has ever been made. I can't imagine that this is going to do well on Netflix. Like, it seems tailor-made to be a fuck you to the algorithm. I heard once that apparently the Netflix algorithm says that if something doesn't happen in the first minute of the film, people will turn it off. And this movie, it takes like 15 minutes to get to the first thing. And like,
gotcha.
That's like a deliberate fuck you.
I saw a meme the other day where it was the Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer at the end of the movie when he realizes his revelation, and it was like subtitled David Fincher creating Netflix originals. So, you know, he's getting his little payback to Netflix after what he's created. We go from one movie that we will go deeper into here in a few weeks to a movie that we'll go deeper into later this week, because I got to see Anatomy of a Fall. I'm going to keep it short because we will be talking about it in great detail here shortly, but I ate this one up. I also saw The Taste of Things at the Virginia Film Festival, which I did very much enjoy, but Anatomy to me is head and shoulders above that. But if I was in the France committee, I understand why they went with Taste of Things. But Anatomy, it delivered everything I want out of this movie, and I'm very excited to talk about further in that video. So, as mentioned before, subscribe, like, comment, helps you stay connected because you just see stuff like that.
If we've set it up properly, we might have our Anatomy video be us plus Arno plus Arno's friend who is a French lawyer. So it's going to be like a little Legal Eagle reacts video, which is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I was less fond of Anatomy than you were. I liked it. I don't know what's wrong with me this year, Dylan. Every movie that people love, I'm just mediocre on.
I mean, if that continues with Poor Things and Strangers, I think we might have a difficult little Fantasy Filmball awards coming up here at the end of the year.
Man, I swear. Yeah, our awards at the end of the year, like, is there even a point of doing them compiled together, because we're going to be so
like
different.
A 2-3 split in every category.
We're going to be so different, except for Spider-Verse and Rye Lane and maybe Barbie. You know, I think those are the 3 that we really agree on this year.
And to just talk about one thing with this film. A few weeks ago, we did one of these What We've Been Watching series, and I talked about Expendables 4 and how they played a 50 Cent song. Well, this one has a 50 Cent song as well, and it's used a lot more better than what was in the other one. This one elevates the movie. The other one detracts from the movie.
We'll talk about Anatomy of a Fall much more very soon. I liked it, is what I'm going to say right now. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Anyways, a movie that I did love that I saw this week. I saw a movie called La Belle Noiseuse from 1991. This was the Cannes Grand Prix winner. It's a 4-hour-long movie about a man painting a portrait of a nude woman. It's mostly real time, as we see this woman pose and this man paint, and it's mostly silent as he's just scratching away at the canvas. Masterpiece. Incredible movie. It's a meditation on what it takes to create art, and not just what it takes for an artist to create art, but the toll that art takes on everyone in an artist's life. As, you know, this 4-hour movie kind of goes into everything in this artist's personal life, his relationship, the model, the way that her life is on the rocks, what is the toll that art takes? What is the cost of something beautiful? I've been meaning to watch it for years, but it's such a daunting runtime, and it sounds really boring, and it kind of is. But I'm gonna be honest with you, this movie was 4 hours long. Anatomy of a Fall was 2 hours 20. I would say La Belle Noiseuse felt shorter to me than Anatomy did. It flew by.
Bold claim. We go from talking about a lot of movies that we have enjoyed for the most part. So that brings us to my final two movies, which I'll talk about one here first. And I did not like either of these movies. And the first one really upsets me that I didn't like it, and that is Five Nights at Freddy's. Have I ever played the games?
Oh,
no,
man.
but I have been entranced with the memes around this movie, from crazy to lore heavy to whatever. Ever since I got on the TikTok back in 2020, I've been flooded with Five Nights at Freddy's memes and have felt like I'm a fan from afar. Like, I get what's going on, but I've never experienced it for myself. So I was super pumped for the movie. If we would have done like a beginning of the year like anticipated movie list, this would have been in my top 10, crazy as that sounds. And this is a piece of crap. Nothing happens. This movie's biggest fault is it's boring. The animatronics never get moments to shine. You get maybe like one like haha meme funny scene, but you never get to embellish in how terrifying they can be. I think the plot here is trying to do too much in its short runtime. I don't think any of the humans in this movie are really doing a great job. Hutcherson's doing, I think, the best that he can with this script, but overall, I just did not see the appeal for this movie. But people who are fans of this franchise seem to be eating it up. When I went to see Anatomy of a Fall, I went to a different movie theater because it was only showing there. And the guy asked me, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, Anatomy of a Fall." He's like, "Oh, I thought you were seeing Five Nights at Freddy's." I was like, "Oh, I saw it the other day." He's like, "What'd you think?" And then I said my piece, and he's like, "What do you mean that's like the best movie of all time? It gave me everything I want." I'm like, I guess I'm clearly just not as much of a Five Nights at Freddy's fan as I thought I was.
Yeah, I know nothing about Five Nights at Freddy's. Wouldn't mind seeing the movie, but I don't think I'm going to get anything out of it.
I just wanted meme camp, and it was not that. And it wasn't even scary either. So it was just like PG-13. Like, I get it. The fan base is mainly younger, but what can you actually do? And now that we see the movie, it's like, you can't actually do anything.
I'll cut in to say I saw a Halloween movie that I was much more happy with this week. The Witches, the Roald Dahl adaptation from 1990, I think.
I thought you were about to say the Anne Hathaway
No,
one.
not the Anne Hathaway
years
one.
Ago.
The classic Angelica Houston movie. I'd never seen it before. Angelica Houston gives one of my favorite performances I think I've ever seen in a movie. Oh my God, she's so good. She's so funny. It's so refreshing to see a kids movie that's so artfully made, that's so daring, that isn't afraid to scare. Have you seen this one?
I have not. I have seen the Anne Hathaway
so
one,
good.
though.
I've heard that one was awful.
It
So
was.
as a palate cleanser, you should go back and watch the 1990 one, because Angelica Houston is incredible as the witch. Actually, I think she won 1 or 2 of the trifecta for Best Actress that year.
The trifecta would never do something that interesting nowadays. So props to them back then.
I mean, they usually one of the groups does something wild in one category, but yeah, giving like a comedy performance, a comedy horror kids performance an award. It's like if they gave Ryan Gosling the award this year, which they will do.
I dived into A24's comedy musical, Dix the Musical. This trailer is probably one of my least favorite trailers of the year, and the movie is one of my least favorite movies of the year. This movie did not make me mad. There's nothing in this movie that I disagree with or I am not the same wavelength for. I just thought this was just appealing to like 12, 13, 14-year-old boy humor who like first learned how to cuss and what sex is. And it was like, let's just do that for 90 minutes. I didn't really find any of the musical arrangements to be engaging or very fun.
Not even the Megan Thee Stallion song?
Not even the Megan Thee Stallion song.
No.
I think the best arrangement to me was the Nathan Lane one when they are at the dinner table and saying they want to fuck each other. That was the one that I got the most down with. Visual comedy kind of worked in that scene, but overall, I found both of our leads to be very annoying. I could not buy into either of their characters or to get on their wavelength or anything like that. The mom was just not a character that I ever really wanted to see on screen. Almost everything that came out was like cringy in the wrong way possible. I love Nathan Lane. Go back to our Beau's Afraid review. I think I said I'll watch anything Nathan Lane's in, and here I am doing that and regret coming out of it. I watched this earlier today, and I will be glad when I wake up tomorrow and not have to think about it again.
Ah, man, it's too bad you didn't like the Megan Thee Stallion song. I think it might be the
fine.
best song she's ever made.
I could get down with some of the lyrics. I just And I
just
think
love
like
the
the song,
chorus.
this may be a hot take. I don't like Megan Thee Stallion's cadence at all in most of her songs. The way she delivers lines is very much just not up my alley.
That's fair enough. She's got a very different flow, I'd say. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie either. I would not go as far as you because I thought it was creative. You know, it was trying some things that I wouldn't go as far to say as like it's just like potty humor for teenagers, because it's trying like the Sewer Boys. So ridiculous.
In
Like,
the wrong way. Like,
so
I get this movie
ridiculous.
takes risk, but every risk is wrong.
But
and it's not in
Dylan,
a...
they're gay culture.
To use the correlation, like I know when I talk about Cats, I say everything goes wrong, therefore it works. But here, it goes wrong because they want it to go wrong. The opening
Right.
credits signify that. The way how they shoot shots and they break rules, or you can see the
dolly track, yeah.
the dolly track. You can see boom mics. You can see people not be where they were in the last scene for blocking. It's like they're purposely trying to do everything wrong, and because they're purposely doing it, it just comes off as like you're just not trying.
That brings up like a good argument that I think we've had on some other movies here, which is like when you're trying to be campy, when you're trying to be a bad movie, is the charm missing? I would agree in some ways. That was some of the stuff that I didn't like here in Dix the Musical, where I was like, oh my God, stop trying to like convince us that you're fucking up. Like, no one's gonna think that you're actually this lazy.
Well, let's move away from stinky movies.
will.
Maybe you have
We
some
will.
more positive ones to close us out on.
Ooh, yeah. Well, you know what? I'll start off with one of the ones that I saw that was more positive. I'm going to rattle through a few movies here. Now, so I saw Postcards from the Edge. It's directed by Mike Nichols. It stars Meryl Streep. She got an Oscar nomination for this because, of course, she did. And Shirley MacLaine plays her mother. And I actually didn't realize this until near the end of the film. This movie is based on an autobiographical book by Carrie Fisher. So Carrie Fisher wrote the script of this movie, and Meryl Streep basically plays a fictional version of Carrie Fisher after she gets out of rehab and has to go back home to live with her mother, Debbie Reynolds. But I thought this movie was a lot of fun. It was romantic. It was funny. It's a touching story about recovery and about mothers and daughters. It's thematically very engaging. And overall, the performances are really good. Meryl Streep does a very good job of playing a mediocre actress in the movie, and Carrie Fisher's writing is so sharp. After that, I also saw Reversal of Fortune, which won the Oscar for Best Actor for Jeremy Irons. This was a solid courtroom movie. It's not really exceptional, and honestly, one of the most strange things about it is that the main character of it recently was actually Trump's lawyer. So, that hasn't aged very well. Oh well, it's a solid movie overall. It's not really exceptional. I would say the lead performance from Jeremy Irons was very good. Glenn Close is in it for a little bit. It was quite well written. It almost felt proto-Sorkin. I think Sorkin improved on that type of film a million times over. Then I saw The Grifters, which has one of Annette Bening's best performances of all time.
Miss Nyad.
I mean, much better than Nyad. And Annette Bening just does an incredible job here as a con woman. And really, this film's about a trio of con men. One of them being John Cusack, one of them being Angelica Houston, who plays John Cusack's mother, and one of them being Annette Bening, who plays John Cusack's girlfriend. And it becomes almost like in a Freudian kind of crime thriller noir movie about horse racing. I'm not going to say it blew me away. Annette Bening definitely blew me away. It's, again, the best performance I've ever seen her give. This was a solid one. I think it might have been a little bit overrated at the time it was released. It got a screenplay nomination and a director nomination, but not a picture nomination. I don't think it deserved really any of those, but it definitely did deserve the acting nominations it got for Angelica Houston and Annette Bening. Also, I watched Fried Green Tomatoes. Sorry, there's so many movies that I've seen, but I'll get through them. Fried Green Tomatoes was a mom movie, which is fair and fitting because it is one of my mom's favorite movies of all time, and there's no problem with that. It's a movie that is designed for moms to love. I didn't really feel anything towards it. I thought Jessica Tandy was really good in the movie. She plays the old woman in the film. She'd previously been Miss Daisy from Driving Miss Daisy. It's whatever. It reminded me of Where the Crawdads Sing, and it also reminded me of, like, why is it that so many films in the 90s had that same trope of like a story within a story where you've got a character telling a story to someone else and the whole story is framed around that. Like, I think of Forrest Gump being a big example of that. And Fried Green Tomatoes was exactly the same thing. Like, the real story of interest is the story being told. So why do we need the framing device? Anyways, that was like a 6 out of 10 movie. It was fine. And the one movie that I saw this week that I'd say I just legitimately did not like was Bugsy. Bugsy was a Best Picture nominee in 1991. It is a ripoff of Goodfellas. It feels like they're trying to capitalize on the success of Scorsese's movie the previous year. It's a mess. It's one of the weakest Best Picture nominees that I've ever seen. It's simultaneously such a boring mob movie when, like, the main character of this movie is, like, there's a scene in it where he's wearing a chef's hat and going on a rant to a bunch of gangsters. Like, he's just been baking a cake or something, and he's telling them about how he wants to build a casino in Las Vegas. It's the most absurd moment. It's so weird. There's like a tangent about how he wants to murder Mussolini. It is the strangest movie, and at the same time as it's very eccentric, it's also really boring. It has no energy. I think it was only nominated because of residual love that came from Goodfellas the year before. Bugsy kind of sucks. It's also directed by Barry Levinson, father of Sam Levinson. And for that reason, I can't say that Bugsy is the worst thing that Barry Levinson has ever put into the world.
Good one. I was about to say, well, that fits to people's opinions of his son's movies and TV shows. But that moves us into what we're watching next week. We can be safe to assure that Matt will not be watching The Idol next week. But Matt, what will you be watching?
Well, I think we're both going to be watching Priscilla, right?
I'm excited. I go Friday.
I do monthly watch challenges, so this month I'm going to be watching a bunch of classic movies from the They Shoot Pictures, Don't They top 1,000 of all time. So I think I'm going to start that off by watching a movie called Wanda.
Well, you watched one Annette Bening movie last week, so I will watch one this upcoming week, most likely. I don't know if it'll be before the next time we talk or after, but Naiad will be in one of the next 2 videos of this What Have We Watched series, which if you would like to keep up on, the subscription button's down below. A like keeps us in your algorithm, and a comment lets us know what movies you've been watching, because we would love to hear. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.